Thank you so much, Ayo. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. Yes, we'll do business for just about 30 minutes. And then, of course, top on the list is while we're looking for how to boost non-oil exports, we still have to deal with the issues around oil, yes? But first of all, let's start from the global space and tell you that oil prices jumped by $1 in early trade on Monday as potential hurricane system, unfortunately, is approaching the United States Gulf Coast and as markets recover from a sell-off following weaker than expected U.S. jobs data that was released on Friday. West Texas Intermediate crude, let's look at the numbers right there. It's up, and really up almost 1.5% this morning. So we see Brent $72.05, not up to the $80, which we know as a normal point for it, but it's gained 1.39% to trade at $72.05. WTI of the United States, that's where the hurricane is threatening, $68.67 a barrel after it went up also 1.48%. A weather system in southwestern Gulf of Mexico is forecast to become a hurricane before it reaches northwestern United States Gulf Coast. This is according to the National Hurricane Center. And the U.S. Gulf Coast accounts for some 60% of U.S. refining capacity. So that's threatened at this time. A highly anticipated U.S. government jobs report showed non-farm payrolls. That was later on Friday after we had were done with the program. Increased less than market watchers had expected in August. It went up by 142,000, and July figure was down, reversed to an increase of 89,000, which was the smallest gain since an outright decline in December 2020. We come back home now and look at the naira. We see an inverse relationship between NAFEM and NAFEX on Friday at the close of trade. A good one for NAFEM because it went up 2.81%. So while the market opened at 1,639 naira 41 kobo, it closed at 1,593 naira 32 kobo. However, it was a drop for NAFEX, but be careful about getting excited with this because our next story will tell you that CBN did intervene, and this time they didn't intervene through the banks, the deposit banks. They went to the BDC. So on Friday, the Central Bank of Nigeria approved the sale of $20,000 to each eligible bureau de change operators at the rate of 580 naira. So don't be surprised you see naira trading above that. 1,580 naira is what the BDCs bought it. So they will, of course, have to make some profit. But they have been told in a statement that was signed by the Acting Director of Trade and Exchange Department, Dr. Kanya, that they are only allowed to sell to end users at a margin not more than 1% above what they purchase from the CBN. And eligible BDCs have been directed to make naira payment to CBN deposit account numbers and submit proof of payment to appropriate branches in Abuja, Oka, in Anambra State, Kano, and Lagos. So I guess by this week, we should expect that there'll be kind of stability in the naira with this inflow expected from the CBN. I mean, the BDCs are supposed to have started applying the process by Friday. Before the end of this week, hopefully that will be concluded, and that should reflect in the value of the naira, even if it's temporal. Now, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale, has debunked reports during the rounds that the rate for value-added tax, that's VAT, has been upwardly adjusted to 10% from 7.5%. The minister shared this in a statement he signed, affirms that the current VAT rate is 7.5%, and this is what the government is charging on spectrum of goods and services to which tax is applicable. Therefore, neither the federal nor any of its agencies will act contrary to what our laws stipulate. It says that the tax system stands on a tripod, namely tax policy, tax laws, and tax administration. All the three must combine well to give a sound system that gives vitality to the fiscal position of the government. And I'm sure this comes on the back of, the reforms proposed by the Tao Oyedele committee, but there are still processes to go through. We had Mr. Oyedele on our program some time ago, and I did tell us to expect it to go through the legal and, through the law and all the Senate, the lawmakers will have an input into that, and then we should expect that by next year, that's when we could see implementation. And of course, there'll be more enlightenment on this. That's why Mr. Waledu is coming to make this clarification that VAT is still at 7.5% and not 10%. Now, Nigeria's oldest financial institution, FBN Holdings, says it has divested 100% stake of one of its wholly owned subsidiary, FBN Quest Merchant Bank, to EverQuest Acquisition LLP. This follows a share sale and purchase agreement. In a statement released on the Nigerian Exchanges Limited website, the Financial Services Group explained that the move, which came after a competitive bidding process, is in line with its strategy to optimize its portfolio. FBN Holdings mentioned that the sale agreement was made after EverQuest Acquisition LLP, which comprises Custodian Investment PLC, Eon Investments, and Evercorp Industries were selected as preferred bidders. However, the listed group adds that the completion of the sale is subject to approvals from relevant regulatory authorities. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Job Creation in the Office of the Vice President, Mr. Temitola Johnson, says that the federal government is working on some initiatives small and medium-scale enterprises in the country. Mr. Johnson told Channels Television exclusively that these are taking time because they have to be done properly. He also put out a word of advice to other Nigerians who've been given the privilege to lead.
I am aware and involved in certain discussions, and I'm aware and involved in certain activities, whose gestation period will happen very soon. Things will be better, especially within the MSME ecosystem. Once you conceptualize something, it takes a bit of time for the results to be seen. You understand? It might look like we are taking a lot of time, but it is better we get these things done properly. You don't want to open the eyes of somebody that is blind, then all of a sudden you close it back. You are looking for trouble. So we have to get these things done properly. But I understand that timing is also a factor. And as for those that are leading, people like us that are leading, people like us that occupy this privileged position called by Mr. President to help him actualize some of his visions, we should actually do so. Do so in the sense that when you find yourself in a privileged position as this, you must understand that any other person could be occupying that position. You cannot remove politicking from government and governance, but it is striking that balance that is very key, basically. So if you do your politicking and you do not allow your politicking overtake the assignment you are given, then you'll be on your way to achieving success.
You can watch the full interview, Newsnight. That'll be at 9 p.m. today on all Channels television platforms there with Mr. Temitola Johnson. Now, well, the hottest news in Nigeria now is still the new petrol price, which everyone is feeling and talking about the impact and trying to understand. And because we did have that announcement that 48 hours after the resumption of production or the initiation or commencement of petrol production by Dangote refineries, that we would have it in circulation. However, 48 hours since we did not have it, we did get a statement from Dangote refineries to tell us that NNPCL hasn't come for the loading of petrol. So that's why. But apart from that, we do have the new price going on. And we are asking questions. I mean, some people have asked that since there's been an announcement or the promise that there'll be petrol sold in naira to local refiners, not just to Dangote, but I mean, you have the modular refineries also, refiners also. Would that reduce the price of petrol? Let's look at the economics of this with an economist, Dr. Muda Yusuf, the Chief Executive Officer, Center for Promotion of Private Enterprises. Dr. Yusuf, good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you, Ine.
So let's start from, the expectation now. People are asking what's really going on. We have a new prices, I think I should put it that way, of petrol at the pump. can that assure us of petrol sufficiency? Can we say we will have energy security with this? Or is this just reaction to the drop in the value of the naira?
Well, it has been a very challenging and sometimes confusing situation. Because at the time that the Dangote refinery made the announcement of commencement of production, there was a strange coincidence that it was also at that time that NNPC was announcing a new price. I think that coincidence can be very misleading because there is no connection between the two. Because the impression seems to have been created that it was because Dangote was coming with his PMS, that is why prices went up. I think that was misleading. But coming to your question, we had two major issues in the last 2 weeks, which actually exacerbated the situation. We had the challenge of scarcity, then we had the challenge of the increase in price. That increase in price for me was a bit on the high side. We are talking about close to 40%, given the social economic condition in the country today. And let me say that the way things are now, it is extremely difficult for the government to walk away completely from providing subsidy. It's extremely difficult. Because in whatever policy we conceptualize or we want to promote, the social content of policy is extremely very important. Because the social cost of reform so far has been far, far beyond what many of us expected. So there has to be a moderation both in the pace of the reform and also the kind of pace it's imposing on the citizens. No two economies are the same. In many of the economies where we have full deregulated system, the energy market, those economies have very robust safety net, social safety net. We don't have that kind of thing here. So we need to follow this process gradually. Secondly, in order to ease the burden of the fiscal burden on government of all these transactions, we need to localize those transactions. We need to localize this fuel importation, fuel something. We need to localize these transactions. Luckily, we now have the Dangote refinery. It's a great opportunity for us to localize all transactions relating to fuel supply. That will increase, the transparency of the process. It will improve the integrity of the process. It will help us to, strengthen our reserves. It will help to also moderate the pressure on the exchange rate.
But Dr. Yusuf,
in addition to the issues of backward integration by industries.
Dr. Yusuf, we
are talking about petrochemical industries and so on.
Dr. Yusuf,
a lot of things are being imported that are, products of refineries. So there's a whole lot of things to benefit.
Dr.
But
Yusuf,
unfortunately,
can you hear me? So, you're talking about localizing, the process of this. Can we really do that? We can applaud the statement that crude should be sold in naira. Do we even have the crude? Because we do know that Dangote itself is still importing WTI from the United States. And we even had a statement from the NNPCL or is it the NUPRC that they are not able to meet up with domestic obligation because of other obligations that have been made even before now.
Now, whatever obligation they can meet, they should put that on the table. The principle must be agreed. There has to be a political commitment to it. Because this is a nationalistic issue. This is about economic nationalism. Because I'm worried that the NNPC is not showing enough excitement about this Dangote refinery. And it's very strange. Like many other Nigerians, we expect the NNPC to be a lot more enthusiastic. But from the body language, from the pronouncements, it doesn't seem like that. And that would be very, very bad for this economy. So I think whatever capacity the NNPC has, let them make it available. I saw some reports of their schedule of what they can make available to Dangote refinery. They may not be able to provide everything that the refinery needs, but whatever they can provide, let them provide. And let them provide in very, concessionary terms. Because as much as possible, we need to ease the pains of Nigerians. The cost of that has to be borne by the government. Because we are talking about social considerations, social content of policy. All over the world, anything that has social implications are borne by the government. That is what it should be. Because I listened to a statement saying that Dangote is free to sell to any marketer and all of that. I mean, how can that be? The NNPC is subsidizing, even at this current price. They are subsidizing. So how do you now expect a private sector to go into the market where subsidy is being provided by a major supplier? I mean, that is not fair. So whatever we need to do to support domestic production, to support domestic refineries, not only Dangote, so that we don't narrow it down to Dangote. All the domestic refineries, we need to give them all the necessary support. Because there's a whole lot of benefits, macroeconomic benefits, energy security benefits, job creation benefits, backward integration. There are so much benefits that we can derive from this. So we need to compel the relevant institutions to please, in the name of God, and to ensure the survival of this economy. They should support domestic production across sectors. And they should do so transparently, and they must show that commitment. Because I'm worried about the trend. Now, it seems that importation of fuel is still continuing. Dangote has told us that they have the PMS. Why must we be importing at this time? I cannot understand.
So, Dr. Yusuf, looking at the bigger picture now, government has to continue paying subsidy. It is necessary to cushion, the impact of the reforms. And we're also looking at debt burden, debt servicing, which obviously the government will have to continue doing. So I'm just wondering, isn't it just like a circle? Where goeth the gains, or where cometh the gains of the reforms that's so much applauded?
No, one of the biggest windows out of this crisis is to localize oil and gas transactions, particularly petroleum product transactions. About 35% or so of our foreign exchange earnings is being consumed by this importation of petroleum products. And we cannot have a better opportunity than what we have now. That should be the starting point. If you take away that pressure of 35% away from our foreign reserves or foreign exchange market, it will have a significant impact on the macroeconomic environment. It will have a significant impact on exchange rates. Because at the heart of all the problems we are facing in this country today is the exchange rate depreciation. That is at the heart of everything. So every opportunity we have to redress the foreign exchange situation, we should take advantage of it. And one of the best strategies is to promote import substitution. Wherever we have the opportunity to substitute what we are importing with domestic production, we should jump at it. And we should do so very quickly, because that is the way to go. So in order for us to be able to reap the benefits of the reforms, you must support domestic production across all sectors. And that is the way. We cannot have opportunities for domestic production, and yet government agencies are still importing products. How do you explain that? How do you justify that? It's not defensible. So I come back to the issue of localization of those transactions. That is the way this economy can benefit, and that is the way we can move forward.
So I wonder if you have heard, perhaps, Dangote says they are ready, production has started of petrol, but they are waiting NNPC, and we had known that there's the arrangement where NNPC is the loan off-taker. I wonder why the delay. I wonder if you have heard anything. I know you're neither with Dangote nor with NNPC, but just being in the sector and having conversations, if you have heard anything that's causing the delay.
Well, I haven't heard anything, because I'm neither close to Dangote or close to the government people. But what I do know, as somebody who is observing the economy, is that the NNPC doesn't seem to be excited by this domestic production or domestic refining of petroleum products. And that is very, very unfair. I may be wrong, but that is what I can see, both from their pronouncements and from their body language. And I think from the political side, we need to weigh in on that. We need to change that mindset. That the way to turn around this economy is to support domestic production. That is the only way out. To promote backward integration, to conserve foreign exchange, to create more jobs. That is the way out. And we are almost there. I don't know why people are now backtracking and trying to almost even sabotage a very big initiative, a very big transition. Because for me, we are already at an inflection point. We are about to turn the corner. So I don't know why all this dragging of feet and all of that. Perhaps it could be issues of self-interest. Because this cannot be in the interest of the Nigerian economy.
Or perhaps, Dr. Yusuf, I know you heard that Dangote informed us that a Federal Executive Council is supposed to set the price and they were working on that. Perhaps that's what NNPC is waiting for. Perhaps.
Well, I don't know, but what I do know from the announcement from Dangote is that they were ready, they have the products ready, and suddenly we saw that supply has improved. Where did the supply come from? Apparently, they have also gone to import again. Why should that be? I think something is not adding up. Something is not adding up, and I think we need to fix this in the interest of the economy and in the interest of the Nigerian people. Even if you want to reduce subsidy, it is easier to reduce subsidy when you are producing locally. You can monitor the transactions. The integrity of the process can easily be monitored. And now that the government has offered to sell the crude in naira, the landing costs should be much lower. So there's a whole lot of advantage for us to latch on to stabilize this economy. So I think maybe higher authorities need to weigh in on this. That should be my take. Because the way it is, I'm not sure we can leave this very big issue only to the NNPC. I don't think so. The political leaders need to weigh in on this so that we can straighten things out.
All right, Dr. Yusuf, thank you so much for your views and perception this morning. Dr. Muda Yusuf is the Chief Executive Officer of CPPE. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll see how the market fared. Summary of the market for last week. Just stay with us. Welcome back. Still watching Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. Let's look at how the market fared at the close of trade last week before we start off this week. Unfortunately, it was a negative trade. So even though I think there were just about 2 negative trades, but it was so heavy that it shaved off the profit I would have had last week. The only good thing is we retained the 96,000 level for the all-share index, but the market was down 0.15%. And equities cap still around 55 trillion naira. When we look at the sectors, most of the sectors were in the red yesterday. Profit taking on the Fugas drove that down. O&O, we know, did try a whole lot, but there was also profit taking and it recovered just after 2 sessions. So we see oil and gas there being the lone gainer at the close of last week's trade. It was up 1.52%. O&O and Japol Gold, they contributed largely to that. Top gainers last week, we see industrial and gas, Berger Paints and eTransact. They're the top losers. RC Briscoe, FTN, Cocoa. It's good when you see movement around cocoa, you know, or the palm stocks. It means that the consumer goods, and we're talking about real sector maturity or development or manufacturing in the country. So that's when there's movement there. It shows investors, I think, along that line. Top trades last week, Accessco, O&O, and Zenith Bank. They were the top trades at the close of trade. Look at all the markets. The smaller NASD market, unlisted market, was also in the positive, unlike what you had in the bigger market right there. So you see it was up 13.71% up. Market cap around 2.9 trillion naira at the close of trade. There you have it, 2.97 trillion naira for the market cap. I mean, quietly moving. That's what we see with the unlisted market. So while all attention is on the fixed income and the NGX and all the big stocks right there, we see some investors are quietly making some moves in the NES. The activity charts there was mixed at the close of trade. Top advancers for the unlisted market: Aradel Holdings, Joe Fleets, and CSCS, government itself. Top decliners: Acorn Petroleum, IGI, and Afriland Hop. Prop is what we saw. And then the top trader was Joe Fleets at the close of trade. So there you have it, the numbers for last week's market. We'll have intraday numbers for you at 1 p.m. as usual. I'll be here with Aniti Edet, so you don't want to miss it. We'll take you around the world of business in 55 minutes, give you all the relevant information that you need to know. I'm John Mekwa, leaving you now in the hands of the Sunrise Daily team.